All right, guys, how you doing? Welcome back. And it is time for the annual video that myself and Jay Devereaux like to do. You like to see it. You're always asking for it. Well, here it is. It's the squad update video for the men's team. We've finally finished pre-season now, and we can give you an update. Just quick disclaimer. This is an update as of now. Things change very fast in non-league football. This could be out of date by the time you see it, but this is completely accurate as we sit here and record this. There is some exclusives in this video. There's some incomings you don't know about yet. There's some departures you don't know about yet. So stay tuned, basically. And if you've got any questions at the end, leave your comments below. Before we have a quick chat and then start announcing our official squad for the start of the season, take a look at our brand new kit. I'll give you a proper look at it. Yeah? What do you think? Yes, yellow and blue, of course. Home kit, away kit still to come. ADIDAS and our partners at Pro Direct Sport is where you can go to buy it. The link is in the description. I'm very happy with this one, Dev. First time we've ever incorporated like the white ADIDAS stripes into a kit. Your thoughts, please?
Very nice.
It looks great on the pitch, doesn't it?
It's a lot easier to see than last year's for me.
Did you have some problems with that, did you?
I think it's just, I think you could describe last year's is quite a messy kind of design, wasn't it? So I think the cleanness, certainly the back of the shirts, it makes a
I really like
nice
it.
difference.
And you can also buy shorts or socks this year as well, which is, I don't think we've done that for a while. So yeah, get involved, link in the description. And don't forget, every time you buy a kit, it helps the club as well. So people always say to me, how can I help the club? What can I do? And I say, buy a kit. I've already got a kit. Buy another one. Buy an away one. Buy one for your friends, your family, your postman. Just buy kits. Okay.
One day they'll be retro, won't they? And everyone will want one.
Would you say our first kits would be old enough to be retro yet? 8 years?
It's got to be close.
Yeah, I think once you're a
People,
decade in.
they kind of, and there's guys out there, I think, they've got the collection, haven't they?
There is definitely people. I'm one of them.
Other than you.
Yeah, I've got a lot of them. Right, so pre-season's done.
Mm-hmm.
I guess before we talk about pre-season, let's talk about last season just quickly. Like, the dust has settled. We've been to America and back since we last discussed things. How do you feel about last season now when you think about it?
I don't think I feel any different about it as to did at the end of the season. I think it was okay. It was fairly solid with some highs and some real kind of lows and disappointments. You know, we experienced a little bit. I've kind of always said that we will come up with, come up against periods of difficulty, and I think it showed how difficult the level is that we've got to. And yeah, January in particular was horrific, wasn't it?
Let's hope we don't have another January like that.
So many of them.
Because you've got amazing Decembers on your record. I think you've won Manager of the Month in December, like what, 3 times maybe? I think you've barely lost a game in December. I don't want to jinx this now,
No
but
pressure.
you just love Christmas. You love the Christmas period. You're a very jolly man.
I think that's what it is.
It gets
I
in the
come
festive.
into my own in the festive season.
And then you've experienced the January
You've
lull.
got to get the blues.
All right, well, let's hope. Maybe, listen, I think it's clear to say, off the back of last season, which, from my perspective as well, I think was good. Like, I think, we new to the division. We had deep cup runs in multiple competitions. Also looking at the club as a whole, the women did fantastically. Also, a first season at a new level. So the club was experiencing 2 new fronts, if you like. And I was really happy with it, but we also did sit down and we addressed things we thought maybe needed to be looked at, and that's obviously going to be relevant to some of the signings you've made this summer. Pre-season's now done. Few less games than you've done in the past. I think sometimes you've played as many as 10 games in pre-season. We had a couple less.
We've always been quite game heavy. We like to get the games in, but we went back a little later this year.
Post-TST.
Post-TST.
Yeah.
I think people forget quickly that TST was longer for us this year than it was last year in terms of how long we were away. That does have a bit of an impact in terms of players' availability and getting the right amount of downtime and rest time for them as well. So we came back slightly later, a couple less games, I think, but it feels like we've had enough games.
Yeah.
And who knows? It is one of those where you're always you're not sure you've got the balance right, and I think you only really know at the end of the season.
That's the thing, you can't read too much into it, can you, results wise? We always say that, but in terms of results, we only lost the 1 game. I think up to that point it was probably feeling worse than it was because we'd played a couple of teams steps below us that we'd drawn with. obviously started with a really emphatic victory against Benfleet. Then we played Sudbury, who are at our level, obviously. Didn't do amazingly last year at their level. They just stayed up, but they had a lot to contend with. They'd lost all their players after getting promoted. Same season we did. But now they've got a new look squad. Scoreline, and you guys often don't get to see a lot of the matches from pre-season. Didn't look good on paper. We lost 3-0, but anyone that was there knew it wasn't a 3-0 game. And actually, then you look at pre-season post-stat, we had a really emphatic victory against Concord and a fantastic performance against Step 2 Aveley. So actually, you've got a pre-season where we lost one game. We didn't concede, apart from maybe the 2 games, Brighton and Sudbury, didn't concede a lot of goals at all. And yet to contend with a few things, didn't you? Namely, basically not having a striker for the majority of pre-season. And that would have affected things, wouldn't it?
Yeah, it did, but you also, sometimes you need these things to happen. These things, sometimes you need to happen, and they happen during the season. These warning signs, reminders, if you like. I think the Sudbury game in particular acted as a little bit of a reset for us, and a reminder that you can't dominate games, and chances, because until they scored their first goal, we had good chances and should have scored. And you could say, because we were missing the centre forward, but chances were falling to players you'd expect to
very true.
Make more of the chances. Not the chances weren't all falling to the person that was playing as a forward. But yeah, we've had to experiment a little bit there with I think we've used Max as a centre forward, obviously Misha and Toby. So we've had to get through. But the main thing really it was about building fitness levels, getting ready for the season, and it does give us an opportunity to look at different things. Yeah,
momentum-wise, it's good, finishing with the 2 wins, and the 2 games where our new striker was available for, we've won, and I don't think that's necessarily a coincidence, although no disrespect to the guys who've obviously deputised and they're really well. We may see them do that again. Let's get into the brass tacks of it then. The season has started, by the way, technically. We a week earlier than we thought it would, because we just played, you may have seen the video on the channel by now, a competitive game, a quarter-final of a cup, which I can say was a win. Really happy with that. 1-0 against a very strong Brentwood Town side from the league below. Both teams missing a few players. Obviously, it was kind of the end of pre-season / the start of the competitive season, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was a game that, because the competition didn't get finished, barely got started last year, the Essex FA asked us clubs if they would consider playing their fixtures during the pre-season, which... Bowers and Tilbury played each other, as part of their pre-season programme. And it was ideal, really, to have it as the last pre-season friendly, because it at least gave a more competitive edge to it, and we had to follow the same kind of rules in terms of number of substitutes and things like that.
Now we've got a semi. I'm assuming the final will be played fairly soon as well, like to try and get it done early.
I think it will dependent on the other half of the draw, because I'm not sure how far advanced they are.
Okay, but a chance to get silverware. We came so close last year in multiple competitions. Really unlucky against the semi-final against Colchester, the team they put out, who obviously they lost the final after that. And then, of course, the final of the Isthmian Velocity Cup. So, it's nice almost to have one quite early. And then we've got, obviously, the FA Cup and the FA Trophy and the big showcase tournaments that we love to try and have a draw in. And maybe a due one, you could say, like we've got a bit unlucky in 2 years ago with the Romford red card. Last year, we end up losing by 1 goal to a wonder goal to Needham Market, who then end up winning like unbelievable amount of games, winning their league after that. So I'm not getting the violins out, but I feel like, we'd all love a little bit of a run in that one. And obviously the league starts this Saturday. Cray Wanderers at home, the return of a certain player we're going to talk about in a minute. We're going to go through the team positionally, as we always do, starting off with the goalkeepers. So this was a position we had identified as needing, namely because Josh Strizovic, who finished the season with us last year after Ted Curd was recalled by Chelsea, was obviously on loan, wasn't he? So Dagenham and Redbridge being his parent club. What was your next calls when you wanted a goalkeeper? Where did this man signed come into it?
I think the loan option, there would have been an option maybe to get Josh again on loan this season if we wanted, but I think the whole loan situation last year it's a tough one to deal with in terms of, we had Ted in, he then got recalled, and then we'd already had Josh for a short period beforehand when Ted went on international duty. So there's just there's always that little bit of uncertainty, but equally it's difficult to get goalkeepers. It's a real specialist position, and I obviously keeping an eye on how things were going, and I noticed that, that Bishop Stortford were victims of their own success, if you like. Last year, being placed in victims of their own success and geography.
Geography, yeah.
Because they were placed into the National League North.
Yeah. If you don't know, by the way, that's mental. So Bishop Stortford is like just a little bit north of London, Essex area where we are basically. So very much in the south of the country. And because of the amount of southern-based teams that are in that level of the pyramid, they then got put in the National League North, which means they're going to places like Newcastle away, that sort of journey. And it's similar to what happened to Sudbury when they got put in the Southern League. Like, it's enough to just kill your squad, isn't it, overnight, travelling? Yeah,
very, very similar. And obviously they got relegated, and they were relegated quite early. But equally, their season finished before ours did. So I kind of started the process, if you like, of approaching Jack once their season had ended to see what his thoughts were, and he wanted a bit of time to think about what he was going to do. But there was also a big possibility that even though they're coming down, they wouldn't be placed back in this division, which is the division they won 2 years ago.
Yeah,
and they would be placed in the Midlands League, and that's what's happened. And I think probably the timing was maybe right for Jack. He was their captain. He'd played over 150 times for them. Fantastic record. But he's local, has played a lot of local football, know him from his time at Tilbury and East Thurrock and Billericay. So he's been around, he's been around the Essex area and well renowned and good reputation as a goalkeeper. And how I got the sense that he had stayed at Stortford, one to have a go at obviously the level again, but equally he's quite a loyal guy, and he's got some values that we really kind of like and appreciate in our players. So he was probably the first one. It was the first position identified as having to have more certainty around and to be able to strengthen him.
Yeah, I think definitely first position, but I think probably fair to say as well, like first name on your list as well in terms of you identified a goalkeeper. We spoke about him a few times. He knows Jacko as well, which is obviously...
Well, yeah, he knows Jacko because during the COVID period, when we returned to training, because of his location, he came in and did some sessions with one of our goalkeeper coaches, one of the guys that helped us out in the past with goalkeeper coaching, a friend of mine, Tony Tucker, who's got a network of goalkeepers that he works with, and Gids had come in and done some work with Jacko, and obviously the goalkeepers union, like, they only got to meet each other once, and they're friends for life.
Yeah, but he's a bit. Would you say it's fair to say? So Jack Giddens is his full name. We call him Gids. He's been called Gids many times before. It's not something we've come up with. Would you be fair to say he's a little bit like Jacko in some ways? I think
character-wise, I think so.
There's a bit of similarities
personality,
there.
Big personality. Important for the changing room as well. So,
I think
a leader.
I think, listen, there's no such thing as a sure thing in football, right? Just like Nathan Smith said in the end of year awards, every season's like a new Gyal, okay? But if you wanted to make a sign in to allow our club to kick on with a permanent goalkeeper, this is it, isn't it? He's won the league twice before. Like you say, he's played a lot of games at this levels and higher, and he's adding that little bit in the change room as well. So, I think kudos to you for getting it over the line, and let's hope it works out, because we know what he's capable of. So that's Jack Giddens in. First signing of the summer, pretty much. Archie Cunningham as a goalkeeper did get a little bit of game time last year. Young goalkeeper, hotly tipped for the future, but he's going to get football elsewhere.
So forward. Archie. We agreed quite early that he'd benefit from regular first-team football. He was fantastic for our reserves last year. He got a taste of some Step 6 football, helped Benfleet last year in their run-in when they were without a goalkeeper, helped them at a real important time of their season because they won the league. Yeah. And he's out getting, some real good first-team experience with Burnham FC at Step 5, and I think also an ex-club of Ryan Adams and Jacko. So
it's that part of the world for sure.
Club link there. Archie, it'd be good for his football development that he'll be getting first-team football. It's a real difficult one, particularly for goalkeepers. As a number 2 goalkeeper, you're sat, and it's getting the balance right of, being there for us, but equally we have to make sure that the players are able to go out and get that experience, because otherwise, if they're thrown in at the deep end, it doesn't help them.
No, it's something that he's going to benefit from massively. You need to play games,
Yeah.
especially at his age. So wish him the best. And you say you never know what happens in the future. Okay, so that's goalkeeper. So let's move into defence now. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the retained players that have been with us before and going to stay with us. We're going to talk about any departures and then any new additions. So in no particular order, staying with the tags, very happy to say Harry Haysom is with us again. Obviously, it's been fantastic. I think he's got the second most appearances now in hashtag history for the men's team. He's weirdly developed an assist part of his game with 2 games in a row now, last preseason game and the cup game. 2 really nice assists actually in forward areas, but obviously we know what he does defensively. He's club vice captain as well. Mm-hmm. How important is it that he's staying put?
No, it's great that H is staying put. He knows how much we all kind of rate him and value him. I still think there's more for him to improve on and get better at. He's had his couple of years of becoming a regular and becoming reliable, and now I'm looking for him to step up as a leader.
Yeah.
I think on the pitch and around the changing room, I think that's his next target, to really, help set an example and see that as the next stage of his development, and being that, that person that people look to as someone they want to follow.
Yeah, definitely. Another person that's staying with us who joined sort of just over halfway through the season last year, Jermaine Anderson. Obviously, got a decent amount of games at right back. We saw Matty Waldridge kind of move around the pitch in order to allow Jermaine to stay in the side, because he'd been so effective for us, hadn't he? And he's staying with us.
Yeah, Jermaine's staying, which I think is really important. I think he was excellent for us last year. He came in at a time where we were going through a rough patch, I think, defensively, and he came in and helped steady us, added needed kind of depth and competition to the back line as well. So we're delighted that Jermaine's staying with us. Yeah,
and I just mentioned him a second ago, but the man who's got more appearances for hashtag men's team than anybody else, Matty Waldridge, only 1 game behind Grace Gillard now, who has the most club appearances. Matty, if he plays, will overtake her, because the men tend to play more games than the women. He's staying with us, and we know about his versatility. We've seen ridiculously good performances from him at right back, at left back, at centre mid. Who knows where else we could see him? We've seen some really good showings from him at TST 2 years in a row as well. And he's one of my favourites. I don't mind saying it.
He's part of the furniture, really, isn't he? He's such a good footballer.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing with Matt, is that I kind of feel duty bound to find a place in the side for him, because on the whole, we're a better team when Matt's in it. His versatility is fantastic. I think the biggest question mark is, whether he continues to wear the number 2 shirt, if he's going to be popping up on the left wing constantly, which he did as right back anyway. But no, I think Matt's just one of those players that, kind of the place doesn't feel the same when he's not there, because he's just been such a permanent fixture for us, and such a reliable and important one as well. Yeah,
going back to that 21-22 season when Matty and H came into the team, Matty a little bit before H, but very early on in that season, they've basically not left it since, which I think is an amazing achievement, considering none of them had played that level before, let alone the level we're now at. So fair play.
And I think it shows what's capable, with regular football, what players are capable of doing.
But it's also to your credit as well, because a lot of managers wouldn't have given youngsters a chance like that. And they would have had to go out like some of other players have had to do to a lower level to get that game time. But you were happy to throw him in, and it ended up being an unbelievable decision because of what they've matured into. Speaking of maturity, the next player who won it all last year when it came to the awards, because he treats every season like a new gal. It's Nathan Smith. What a year he had. His first full year with us last season, because he joined at the back end of the title-winning 22-23 season. He's staying, which is great. First question I've got for him is and this is genuinely just one for the scientists, really, because I don't understand it. Can he sustain it? Can he keep doing what he's doing at his age? Because it's just unreal, isn't it? I get tired watching him run the pace that he runs at. He's older than me.
Yeah, I think sometimes we kind of look at him and think, do you need to be doing that running you're doing, Nath? I'm almost trying to slow him down sometimes. It's not a case of, we need to watch him because he can't. It's almost like, right, just can we reel him in a little bit? He's had a tough pre-season.
Yeah.
who had he's had a few kind of incidents. He had a bit of a car accident, not a serious one, but one that affected his ability to be available, and he had to recover properly from that, and he picked up a little bit of a bit of a bug that again, so that's why he wasn't present in the early games.
Yeah.
But the last couple of games, since he's been back and we've kind of eased him in and got him up to his full minutes, he's not shown any signs of slowing down. He's been excellent in the last 2 or 3 games he's played for us. So
yeah,
hopefully
keep it up.
He does keep it up.
Yeah, I know he's very popular. Obviously, you don't win managers player, players player, and fans player without being very popular. So well done. Amazing. Imagine if he did it another year in a row. That would be unprecedented. So let's talk about some departures. There's a couple here that you probably know about already. There's at least one you probably won't know about, which is an exclusive and a sad exclusive, if I'm honest. Not one I would have wanted to be announcing in this video, and I'm sure we'll cover it. We talked about Jermaine Anderson staying. He was one of our 2 Andersons. Unfortunately, we are down an Anderson, and we are just back to just Jermaine, because Tom Anderson, not for the first time, for the second time in his hashtag career, has decided to move on ultimately, hasn't he? Do you want to talk us through that decision?
Yeah, no, not really.
No, I know, it's gutting.
Yeah, we're absolutely gutted that Tom's taken the decision to move on. Only a very recent decision.
Yes.
He
played
told me at the
most of
beginning of the
pre-season, didn't he?
Yeah. And yeah, he just spoke at the beginning. He came to me at the beginning of the week, and I think it was one of those where he's really wrestled with it himself over the last few weeks. And he kind of said it's something he'd been thinking about, and that he felt that it would be the right thing for him to move away now. Tried to change his mind, gave him all the time that he might need to change his mind, because I do think there was still some there's still a little bit of doubt in his mind about whether he was making the right decision. But ultimately, for what Tom's done for the club and done with us, I'm happy that he's going on his terms.
Yeah.
And yeah, just desperately disappointed. He'll be sorely missed. I've known Tom since he was 13, 14.
No, I know, historic days. He's one of the originals, if you like, in that sense.
It is a tough one, and he's a really, really popular lad. Probably, you don't pick that up so much, away, because he's shy of the cameras more so than others. He's not the first one, but behind the door of the changing room, he's a really, really popular lad.
He's been there for so many of the big moments in the club's history. He obviously just recently at the back end of last season hit 100 games as well. He's in the all-time 11 on merit, definitely deserves. He would get my vote all day long. Had a ridiculous. Well, he's always been a good goal scorer, but it certainly when he first came and he's playing midfield, he was electric. But yeah, he's always been arguably statistically our best goal scoring centre back. I think maybe Jack Harrison had a one season where he was up there with anyone else for sure. But I said it to him at the time. I'm absolutely gutted, but we understand. We respect any player's choice. I don't know if it's been announced where he's going to the time this video goes out or not.
I'd imagine it would have been. I mean, those that were eagle-eyed would have seen him warming up with the opposition on Saturday.
We'll put it in now, and they can always just void out the word we say now. But he's actually going to be signing for Manchester United. No, I'm joking. Brentford Town, who just played in the Cup on the weekend. He didn't play in that game, but he's going to be playing for them going forward. So he's going to go down a division, but to a very good side in that division.
They'll be right up there. They would be disappointed that they didn't go up last year. They lost out in the playoffs on penalties. Tom, he only told me just before we played Averley. And then went on to score the winning goal in that game. And I kind of hoped that might have changed his mind, but I think it might have done for an hour or two. But he'd made his decision, and I think he feels that he will be. I don't know. He feels like he needs that fresh challenge and one that he can make on his own terms. Yeah,
and I actually did film a little video of him after that Averley game, so we'll put it in here. Right, we've just played Averley in a friendly. For what it's worth, I think this man was my man of the match tonight. I thought he was immense. Obviously a good win against a team in the league above, but perhaps more importantly, or definitely more importantly, we found out tonight, against my wishes, this man is moving on. As you know, He's in the 100 club. He's had 2 spells at the club. He's won promotions. He's scored goals, lots of them, particularly when he first arrived. And he's put in just a ridiculous amount of unbelievable performances. One of my favourites, I don't mind saying that. I'm gutted, Tomo. And you've explained your reasons. You don't have to explain them here, but a word on your hashtag journey for the fans at home?
Yeah, it's been unreal. Like, it's just one of a kind. The club. It's obviously the best club I've ever been at.
Paid him to say that. Literally.
Yeah, I'm going to miss it. Not just the players, just the fans, just the social media of it, just everything. Just the best club to be at. So.
Well, we appreciate that, and we appreciate you. And much like we've proved this already when you left before, the door is never closed. You can come back. You are allowed. You know, I know I can speak for Debs when I say this as well, and we'll talk about it in the update video. But you'll be missed. You're a legend. We love you here, and don't be a stranger, mate. But thanks for everything. Give me a cover. Tom Anderson, everybody. So Tom Anderson has gone. Who knows? Maybe we'll see him back for a third stint one day. I don't know. You never say never. There's a couple more you may already know about, you may not. Greg Halford is moving on as well. So just under 2 seasons with the club. Was part of that 22-23 league winning season. Actually, massive part of that season, realistically, if you think about. You know, we had a Haysom injury. Who was injured that we brought him in? Yeah, Haysom was out. He came in, made an instant impact. You know, brought that sort of Premier League pedigree. First ever player that's played in the Premier League to play for hashtag. I don't mind saying this was like a big coup for me when we did it. I say coup. You brought it to the table, but I sort of gave him the spiel that he'd been a fan favorite. He'd been a favorite of mine on Football Manager when I used to play that game a lot because he was so versatile in the game. He could play in every position. So I loved the idea of having him in real life, and I wasn't disappointed by what he helped us achieve. Obviously, back end of his career. I don't think he's retiring though just yet. I think he maybe got more football to play.
I think he's been playing pre-season elsewhere. I don't think it's been announced by anyone, and so it wouldn't be fair of us to say
no. And who knows what position you'll pop up in either.
No, exactly. But no, Greg's moved on, and we wish him the best.
Yeah, we do. Big thanks to him for that promotion season, of course. Farai Singano, another another one in the all-time 11, like Tom Anderson, fan favourite. We announced this at the back end of last year. He was moving on. Essentially work commitments. He's not going to pack in football, but he wants a slightly more flexible setup.
Yeah, he's going to go and play where I think there's a little bit more understanding of his new career as a model. But equally...
All right for some. I turned down all the model work I got offered so I could commit to the club for but mother care, they do come calling from time to time.
Yeah, do they?
Yeah. Is that still business, mother care? Yeah, they tried to get me for one of their big campaigns, but I said, no, I've got to go to Potter's Bar. No, but Farai actually is a proper model. Not our only model at the club, by the way. Camilo Restrepo is a model. But yeah, Farai's...
I know, it's out for everyone, isn't it?
Farai's, listen, he's busy.
Even LP laughed at that one.
Yeah. He's busy. He's a busy boy. And
Yeah.
I think he's playing for... that's been announced, I think.
Enfield.
Yeah, he's been announced. Enfield, Enfield just got promoted.
No, but Enfield, who he... played for on a dual registration or on loan last year. What was great, we knew Farai would be stopping. We were able to give him a bit of a send off. His last game last season, Concord.
It all fell apart when he came off. We were good until he came off.
Yeah,
he could play at this level, couldn't he?
I think Farai's been really unfortunate in the sense of he obviously had that horrific injury at a horrific time, where he's unable to get it operated on and then treated, so his rehab was set back so much. And the fact that he's kind of kept playing, he's just again, he's just another one of those players. I think he's, you see him and he's one of the players you put to the face of this club.
Yeah, I agree. So. And it's not nice to think that 2 all-time 11 players moving on at the same time. The reality is Farai's not really been active in the squad for a few years since that injury, really. So this is just an official departure, and we want to give him his send-off, but he's not been active, and he would have so many more appearances. He'd probably be our leading appearance maker if he never got injured. Tom's obviously been a bigger part of it recently. So where there are departures, and we wish all those guys the best, there are, of course, incomings. I think shortly after we announced Jack Giddens, the goalkeeper, was signed, this next man was announced, and that's Cuba Gordon, centre-back. What can you tell me about him?
Cuba, someone obviously we know from our time in the North when he played. He was captain of Haybridge.
Yeah.
There was he's someone we've always admired. For he's always he's an imposing figure but also comfortable on the ball. I always felt that when he was playing in the Isthmian North, that he looked like a player that was playing below his level of capability. I know he'd played at this level and the one above previously as well, but there was Haybridge. They had a change of manager at the end of last season, and it just seemed that it was the right time to see if he would be interested in coming in and joining us, adding to the the spine of the squad, which I felt was important that we needed to strengthen. And
he's a big lad.
Obviously knowing with Farai going, Greg going, that we needed to bring in another centre back, and I was delighted that he agreed to come. Say another one who brings leadership qualities as well.
Yes, no. So and look decent in pre-season so far. So I'm excited for you guys to see more of Cuba. And then finally on the defence category, Josh Rosoke. I did say his name wrong for the entirety of the last video. I said Rosoke. I gambled and I got it wrong, but I have apologised to him. He's Rosoke from now on. Started for us on the weekend. Was for me one of the strong performers in pre-season. That left back position, really good delivery. I think those of you that haven't seen those videos, the best is yet to come, and you're going to see some. It's been a while, because even though Nathan was unbelievable at left back last year, it's been a while since since Ben Brooks, in terms of that kind of cultured crosser, as Nathan was more bombing forward, making those
Nathan's
runs.
more about getting beyond the wide player and crossing from those more advanced areas, and Josh has shown he's got that deeper delivery, a little akin to Ben, and funny enough they came through the same youth setup, Ben and Josh.
That's right.
Part of that group that I think Jermaine Anderson was part of as well. Okay. So we've known about Josh.
Whoever that coach was, that's a coach there he's got some good credibility there. He's brought some good players through.
I think there'll be a few that probably might be upset if you mention a name, but certainly Marvel. I don't know if I should name names.
Just saying, when you usually have a good crop like that coming through, usually it means there's someone coaching them well. I remember,
absolutely, we know they've been well coached.
Yeah, and that's a nice addition. So that's only really been confirmed as of this video as well. He was essentially a trialist for pre-season.
Yeah, so Josh approached us. We've known about Josh for a long time. He's always someone. I know he went and he had trials. Football league clubs, he kind of came through and he was looking like he was really going to kick on, and for one reason or another his career's stuttered a little bit in terms of, I think he's bounced around a few clubs, maybe things not just quite worked out for him, and he approached us at a time where, as I say, Nathan was having a real difficult time in terms of being available, and so there was an opportunity for him to come in and get some games that might not have been there at Nathan being fully fit, because, and equally, we'll talk about other injuries going forward, but we've been using Matt in more advanced areas as well. So, and the fact he's a left footer and is a left back, and it allows we've got cover in terms of we've now got two players that can play that position in the way that we've got two players that can play the right back position. So it allows depth of the squad. And so Josh has joined us. He's been signed after a successful, what I can call really successful pre-season for him. And we're looking forward to seeing more of him and having him part of our group. Really good lad as well.
Played against us back into last season for Concord, is that right?
He played against us, Concord. Yeah. He's played against us previously. He was part of the Bowers under 21 set up before he broke into their first team, and he was part of the team that gave us an absolute run around when they were just an under 23s team.
So was Pedro Carvalho?
Same team as Pedro.
So
George Wind, who's just moved from Billericay to Southend, was in that team as well. So Ben Brooks was part of that group. I think Ruben Carvalho, who's just moved from...
Where's he gone?
He's just moved from Wingate to Maidenhead in National League. So, that group, real talented footballers.
Yeah, and so I'm really happy with that one as well. And obviously, we've already seen the benefits of that with the fact that obviously we found out Tom was moving on. Then we were able to use Nathan at centre half. On the weekend.
We know Nathan can play centre half.
Yeah, of course.
And that probably means we don't have to be so desperate to replace Tom, knowing we've got that cover.
No, exactly. So that's defence done as well. There's been a couple of exclusives already. There is more to come. Midfield. Let's go through retained ones. We'll try and rattle through them because I know these videos can tend to go on a little bit. Max Cornell, skipper, staying. I say, how long can he keep going? I mean that question two ways. One is...
see Nathan above.
Yeah, exactly. Like, how long can he keep running physically on a pitch, which is more than anyone? But he doesn't seem to drop off, the man.
He's another one. He's
athlete.
He is a fitness freak. He's... he loves football and he loves running and he loves being, he's continues to be a great example, leads by example.
Yeah, experience is key.
Yeah, experience, good person, brilliant that he stayed.
Yeah, we're all massive Max Cornhill fans for sure. And someone at the sort of other end of their career, if you like, Camilo Restrepo, had a really good TST tournament for us. We knew he was going to be decent there because of his futsal experience. But how much, and he's staying, which is great. How much potential do you think he has? Because he's still, I think he was our youngest player at one point last year.
He still might be.
Yeah.
I think he still might be. Very
Alex
good.
Bolivan, how old is he?
He's very close. Would be Camilo or Alex, but Camilo's still one of the youngest. And how high can he go? I think he gets caught between the small-sided and full-sided football element, and sometimes it's those two worlds when they collide. It doesn't always work out well, but he's got all the attributes to kick on, and he's one that we think when there'll be a day the penny drops, and I think he'll take off.
Because when you watch him, there's no doubt about what he can physically do with the football. His physical attributes combined with that, like it's a match made in heaven. It's just maybe experienced decision-making type thing.
Exactly that, yeah. And for us, I think finding out where he works best for us within that midfield area. Because he's a naturally attacking player, but I'm not sure that we get the best out of him higher up the pitch. And sometimes he does his best work coming from deep.
Yeah, he can carry the ball. And again, he's got the attributes to be able to mix it in there, in the air, things like that. So, yeah, we'll watch this space for seeing just where Camilo's career can take him. But the good news is he's staying with Hashtag. Next player that's staying with Hashtag, I think had a really strong first year with the club, much like Camilo. Misha Jamaili was right up there for top goal scorer. Didn't win it in the end, but only just missed out. When you consider the minutes he played, he's actually really impressive and also not a striker. Although he's done a bit up front for us in pre-season.
So, yeah, with Mish, it's a difficult one because, his goal return was brilliant. Probably a victim of being overly versatile at times, so not nailing down one position. He's very much his own worst enemy at times in terms of his own overthinking and his own thought process getting in the way of his performance. And so we saw real highs from him in terms of the levels he hit, but then when he dropped off, he had a bit of a real dip in form and I suppose a crisis in confidence, I suppose, to some extent. But Misha's got abilities that are comparable with some guys that are really, really, at the level we're at, like the top of that level, and in terms of his body strength, the quality of his finishing, when he moves things, when he's decisive with his decisions, is really good. And we've kind of taken the opportunity to look at him as we think that he could actually have a future as a centre forward. Yeah. And then we'll talk about the forwards going later, going forward. But we think, Misha's shown those qualities, and certainly in terms of his finishing as well. And reminds us of some guys that have made that transition previously and gone on to be really successful at doing that. So it's probably another bit of a learning stage for him in terms of adapting to a new position. But he's shown real positive signs. Yeah,
there's no doubt in his goal-scoring prowess from deeper positions. And there was times last year when we had chances that weren't going in, and I was thinking, if Mish scores them, and I think that I'm really happy for him to not only stay with the club, but also just to sort of find his place, because that's probably what happened to him a little bit last year, coming in and out the side. But no doubt about it, when he was on form, he was a key player for us last year.
Yeah, and at that period when he was on form, he was in the side.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So next, we're going to talk about another player who's sort of with us, but not with us at the moment. He's injured, and that's PK Humble, Percy Kiangibeni, if you don't know his real name, his government name. We don't know when PK is going to be fit again, so this is an injury that he was struggling with last year. It's the same injury that kept him out for most of January. He had obviously a period off, then finished the season with us, came to TST, but it was still aggravating him. And we have now sort of sought expert medical advice. He was always getting expert advice, but now he's had to have some treatment for it, which he has now undergone. There's still going to be a bit of time before we can even properly look at him again. We're talking like 6 weeks sort of time. But we do hope to get him back. But you have to watch that space for that one. It is a sort of significant injury, and if we didn't get it right, it could have been a real problem for him. But we do, you know, we got the very best advice, and I think he's on the mend, hopefully. So yeah, not going to see him play in the next sort of 6 weeks, but still with the club.
And one of those, when he comes back, it'll feel like a new signing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we know what PK can do. We can sit here all day and talk about what he brings to the club off and on the pitch, but we just want to get him back to his best, get him back to fit, so it doesn't have to think about that injury anymore. Next, though, is a departure. Is Sam Cornish. So, bit of a sort of anticlimax this one in a way. Like, it was kind of, he got an opportunity to go elsewhere in pre-season, and then we don't actually know if he's. Do we know if he's signed?
Yeah,
he has signed. Okay, so he has signed.
Yeah. So Sam messaged me. I'd spoken to Sam about staying. Unfortunately, he was unavailable to come to TST, so he's missing from TST because he had already had prior commitments. So before we went out, I spoke to him about staying, and he said he was happy to stay, providing that there was no opportunities come from a higher level.
Yeah.
So that was how it was agreed. He stayed, and he messaged me to say that he'd been offered the chance to go on trial a team at step 2, and that he was going to take that, and he's gone and done that, and he's been signed. So he's been announced recently by Welling United as a new signing, and we wish Sam all the best.
100%, and it's one of them. If he gets game time and he's playing regularly there, then hopefully shines and continues. He had some really strong moments for us last year, I think. Periods of form where he was great. We've got good squad depth in that position, so it's very difficult for someone to pin it down. But thank you for your time with the club last year, Sam. So now additions in this position, starting off with Alex Bolivan. So we announced him early on. He actually was in the TST trials with us for a little bit, but that was more so because you was considering bringing him in, right?
Yeah, so I spoke to Alex about coming to the TST, really the warm-ups, if you like, the TST. I thought it was an opportunity for him to come in and meet us, really.
Yeah.
Was playing at Woodford Town in the Essex Senior League. Obviously, we knew Luke May-Parrott from there, and we'd seen Alex play, and he finished strongly, and spoke to Luke about him, and Luke, said what a good player he was, and so we continued to have him watched. And Woodford, unfortunately, lost for them. They lost the playoffs to go up, which I think probably helped our cause in the sense of it meant that he wasn't going to be able to go up with Woodford, and that he might be more likely to want to take the step up, and he did, and he's come in and he's done great. I think we're learning about him, he's learning about how we play, and I think there's been elements of pre-season where when we've played better opposition, he's been caught out a couple of times on things, but equally within the same games, he's looked like he's going to cope absolutely fine with this, and I'm really excited to see how he kind of develops. In the same way, Luke came in and we didn't force Luke in straight away. We were careful about how we introduced him, and there were, I think, with Alex, he's one of those where I think once he gets settled with us, he's going to really.
He's another young lad, isn't he?
Yeah.
He's early 20s, and he's got some really exciting attributes from a sort of watching off the pitch perspective. He's a player that you guys, I think, will enjoy. Yeah, and
set piece deliveries is really good.
Yeah,
we haven't seen it yet, but I know he gets goals from that midfield area. He can shoot from distance, so they're all the things that I say we haven't seen it yet in terms of he hasn't got his goal yet, but he will. And I think as he gets more comfortable with us and the surroundings, and he's only going to get better. And
also, I'd love to know, I'm sure people at home would love to know this. When you're looking at players, two division gap, they're going to jump up to join us. What are the attributes you look for in those players? Because it's not just a case of seeing someone score a load of goals at that level, or just have a good game. You need to know that they can mix it with players that are playing much more higher level. How do you gauge that, or is there an element of a gamble on it?
I think there's always an element of a gamble on it, but equally I think you've got to think back to the boys we've had that were playing in that league and have stepped up and coped, and you sometimes make comparisons with players that they might remind you of. With Luke, it was things about his movement and positions he picked up. With Alex, it was about how comfortable he was on the ball and how well he protected the ball. His competitiveness, his physicality. He's not the biggest of guys, but he's not shy in terms of, he's obviously his delivery a good delivery is a good delivery wherever. If you can put it in the right areas, then it doesn't matter who else is on the pitch. So things like that, and it just looks, and age comes into it as well, because you think, if they're playing regular football at the age of kind of 18, 19 and getting 30, 40 games in the Essex Senior League, well, then they're 9 times out of 10 they're going to be more capable of stepping up. Yeah,
definitely. So another player we can announce he's officially signed, it's an exclusive for this one as well, is Io Olakoga. He's played for us before. Dual reg, sort of cameo against Walthamstow. He came and helped us out basically, didn't he?
Yeah.
He was playing high, he was playing for East Thurrock at the time. Fast forward a few years, most recently he's played for Lewis, who were in our league last year. Played quite a few games for them over a few seasons. Describe him as a player.
Really intelligent. You can tell that he's had a lot of football experience at the level. Goes about his business kind of quietly and efficiently, I'd say, but shows real football intelligence in the positions he picks up. Knows when to drop in and cover. Quite versatile. Again, he's another one that can play more than just the one position, and a good fit in terms of his character and personality again. So
definitely.
Yeah, it's certainly in an area that, when you consider the injury to PK and things like that, and we were light, and Ayo's come in and done really well, and I think he's going to be an important player for us.
No, I agree. He's a player that when I watch, he likes to drop in and pick up the ball deep, but then equally really astute carrying the ball. He's found himself in really good advanced positions. And on multiple occasions now across multiple games. So I think there's a goal threat in there, or certainly a goal providing opportunity in there. So look forward to seeing more of Io. And that concludes our midfield section. Attack is next. We're talking about wingers, talking about strikers, talking about those attacking positions. In terms of retention, Pedro Carvalho, this time last year, we just lost him to his pro move in Luxembourg. He then returned a couple of months later, pretty much, didn't he? Was a big part of that season after that, and he's still with us.
No, Pedro again is another one who's becoming, he's steadily becoming, one of our permanent fixtures, and on his day unplayable. I think sometimes you a little bit more consistency, but you get that some from these kind of flair players, if you like, and can play left or right, which I like in those in our attacking kind of three behind the forward. I like that flexibility to be able to change if needed, because sometimes it allows you to change in game without making a substitution. The other thing with that is that this year we're allowed to use all 5 subs.
Yes, big rule change.
So that's going to be even more important in terms of that, adaptability and
squad depth is key.
Squad depth.
Yeah, no, obviously I think Pedro's a big favourite of you guys. If he plays a decent amount of games this year, probably get in the 100 club. He's just around 80 right now appearances. So, and that's over 2 seasons, not even 2 full seasons. So really good news there. Another player that's retained and even said at the back end in the awards video, in his words, that we're coming for everything this year, Toby Aromalaran. Is he going to play every game this time? Because we missed a lot of him last year,
when he says coming for everything, he means winning games of football and not like winning.
Coming for every Love Island event.
Yeah, like beach competitions or whatever it is they do, and beach games. Tobes has stayed. We've had the conversation. We know his job, and it's really difficult and frustrating to manage that. But when Toby's able to commit, then he's a real asset to us and someone who's been with us. Remember he was with us before he went off.
Of course, people forget that.
On these luxurious holidays.
Before he had 1 million followers, he was with us.
So, he's had a really good pre-season as well.
Yes.
He's looked really bright. And again, you spoke about that. We've used him as a centre forward. We know he can do that job. He can do that job, on his own or as a second forward. And we know the threat he poses from wide positions as well. So
I think the reality with Toby is that, if he hadn't been so effective for us, his availability probably would have been too much to get over the last few years, because it is difficult. This isn't a reflection on him, because these guys have got other jobs. We made a bit of a joke about it in our kit release recently about his job, but it's still a job, and you still have commitments, and you still got to make money. And his job, just unlike some other jobs, maybe takes him away from football more than we'd like as a club. But when he's there, invariably, unless he's maybe catching up fitness-wise, or he's been away for a while and he's maybe a little bit off it, generally he's effective. And I think that you can't argue with it. You can't argue with his loyalty in the sense of the fact that he did come back post Love Island, which I don't think I thought he would.
No.
And that's actually the most available he's been since going on Love Island. It was that first season back, weirdly. He played almost a full season. I think he played 40-odd games that year. But obviously his opportunities come up. But I know you guys love him and we're very fond of him as well. We know what he's capable of if he can commit. It's just a case of getting him there, isn't it, really? So let's watch this space. But Toby, we know he's in the 100 club now as well. He hit 100 games same time as Tom Anderson. And yeah, I mean, he's in that for me, probably bordering on merging into the sort of club legend status in terms of the amount of games he's played and goals and assists. And I think another big season for him puts him right up there in terms of all-time records as well. Like he's not far off the goals non-league record. He could I think he needs 10 goals this season to overtake George Smith, most non-league goals.
Just calm down a little bit because he'll watch this and he's got a big enough head as it is.
Yeah, and I'll say all this and then he'll just go on a show tomorrow
and
we'll
then
miss
he'll
him
give me the ump for the next
I'm trying to
4
use it
weeks.
as motivation for him though, Dev. I'm trying don't go on, cooking with Gabby Logan. Stay here and play football with Spencer FC. But yeah, Toby's staying. Another player that's staying. Really important debut season for us. You could say maybe a slowish start, but once he got going, it was electric. Saka-san.
Yeah, Sack staying. Great. We've seen, particularly say towards the back end of the season, he really kicked on. I think he had a bit of a slow start, but that happens. New players sometimes getting used to the way and the way we play, and us getting used to them. And yeah, he's going to be a big player for us, I hope. Yeah,
we just consistently getting in those dangerous areas. So good at doing that, and I think if he can add that final part to his game, then I think the opportunities for him are endless. Where
I think consistency in his end product, and I think then
see what happens.
Yeah,
obviously
we might be having a wave bite of him.
Yeah, a big part of Somalia international team as well. He's scored quite a few international goals now, which is no small feat. So yeah, we're big fans of Sack. Another player who's staying with us, we're really happy about, but he's currently injured, and it was one of the reasons we were struggling for strikers in pre-season. Is Luke May Parrott. Joined us last year, as we've discussed, a couple of divisions, jump up. Didn't take too long to get him going, get him scoring. Ended up getting the most goals in the end in the season without playing the full season. But he has got an injury. He's got a hernia at the moment. He needs operation. So we expect to see him again. We just don't know. It's going to be probably a couple of months.
Yeah. Somewhere between 6 to 10 weeks, I think.
So we'll get him back as soon as we can.
Frustrating. I know frustrating for us. Even more frustrating for Luke, because I know he, how strongly he finished the season. He's looking forward to kicking on again, and again another one, a young player, and we kind of think that if we carry on playing and scoring at this level, who knows what the future will hold for him.
Yeah,
but it's a serious injury, but it's not a career-threatening injury, which is great, and it's one that he will no doubt come back from.
It's one of them, you fix it, and hopefully it's done.
And again, similar to the PK situation, when we get him back, you try and be positive that when they come back, it's that shot, that boost that sometimes the squad needs, and you're not having to go elsewhere to get that.
Yeah,
it's
true.
That little shot in the arm, if you like, is coming from within.
Yeah, as long as we can handle those periods without. I mean, that obviously did hurt us in January last year. We just had so many injured at the same time, didn't we? Just really bad luck there. I think we had probably 5 starting players all out. We're going to start the season with a few out, but equally, I think the recruitment's been strong. The depth is pretty good. That we'd like to think we can handle it. Alfie Q, we haven't really addressed for a while, but he obviously came in very near the start of last season, had some really good performances. I think particularly that Carshalton away performance was as close as you can get to like a complete striker performance for me. But he picked up a nasty injury. He's had a few injuries in his relatively young career, isn't he? But on the road back, maybe, hopefully?
Yeah, so Alfie needs surgery. He's got surgery this month.
Right.
And then it will be a case of his rehab and hopefully we get him back, but we're not quite sure how long that's going to be until probably post-surgery and see how successful his up was.
Yeah, obviously we wish him the best. It's one of them where if you don't hear anything from us, it's because there's nothing to say. Like if we knew he was going to come back in X amount of time, we talk about it, but until there's news, there's no news. So there's our retained sort of attacking players. In terms of departures, we did address this in the summer when it was announced, but AT, Alex Teniola time himself, has moved on. We're going to see him very, very soon because his new club is Cray Wanderers, and we play them in a matter of days. First game of the season, a couple of days
saw him
after you
Saturday,
see this.
didn't we?
Yeah, he came to our game, scouting us.
Yeah.
2 seasons with us. I think he's 4th in the all-time top goal scorer list for hashtag now, 2nd most goals, or 3rd. It must be 5th actually. I think it's 3rd in the non-league goal scoring account for us. And it's obviously a huge part of both seasons, but particularly that title-winning season.
Yeah, brilliant. And this is, you have to make decisions sometimes. You're always looking to bring, when you're looking to bring people in and change things, then you can't just hold on to everyone. And it was one of the difficult decisions I kind of had to take. And I had the conversation with Alex previous to TST.
Yeah.
If that would make the decision to kind of move on, to give Alex enough time to kind of find another club.
Yeah.
And equally, it was always a difficult one with TST because you don't want to ruin the trip
The
for
vibe,
someone. But it's football, and they're his words.
Yeah.
It's football, and it's not the first time that he would have experienced that. And he's not the first player that would have been. It's just really difficult because we know how important he's been to us. Fantastic personality to have around the club, as well as what he's contributed to us on the pitch. We'll love him. We'll love him to bits. And
unless he scores against us on Saturday, in which case you're dead to me.
Yeah,
I'm joking. You're in a coma to me.
Yeah.
We did talk about him on Saturday, whether he's going to celebrate or not. He said he may have something planned for you if he scores, but hopefully we stop that happening. But the pun is very much intended here, but I've got a lot of time for Alex Teniola. And scored a lot of goals this level. What's so interesting is that when he left, he said that we're the first club he'd ever played 2 seasons for.
Yeah, I was going to say
which
that.
I think is a reflection on non-league, if anything.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. His experience, but actually he's been with us longer than he's been at any of his other clubs, and I think that shows that we were a good fit.
Really
sometimes,
good fit.
And it is that getting the timing right again. We alluded to it with Tomo earlier, and obviously it's Tomo's choice, but rather you kind of, when you part ways, you want it to be on good terms.
Yeah.
And whilst someone's going to be disappointed or upset, and sometimes it's the club or the manager, or and other times it's the players, you like to think that once you kind of the emotions taken out of it, you've got over that initial kind of shock or disappointment, that you stay friends. And I'd like to think that we
definitely
friends.
will. Yeah, and I'm sure he'll get a good welcome from the hashtag fans as well on the weekend, because they love him. Another player I want to talk about is your son, Ellis Devereaux, who sort of, you say, broke into the first team last year, had a few moments, a few opportunities, got himself an assist against Concord. I'm guessing it was a decision you guys made together to sort of dual reg him and get him experience elsewhere. He played against us actually in pre-season for his new team, White Ensign, who are a couple divisions below us. So much like the step that we've signed Alex Bolivan from and Luke May-Parrott, he's playing in that division. Yeah. And let's talk about his start quickly. Hat-trick on his first ever start in men's football.
Did all right.
And a goal in the FA Cup as well.
Yeah.
So you've got to be pretty proud of this lad right now.
Yeah. I mean, if you're asking me as his dad, I suppose I've got to admit a bit of pride there. But again, you'll be watching. No, with Els, I mean, it's real difficult last year. He benefited clearly from being someone who was constantly around us. Spoke to this, there's always the nepotism kind of question element, and there undoubtedly is. He wouldn't have got the opportunities possibly if he wasn't my son, but that's because I wouldn't have treated anybody else's son the way I could treat my own. What people don't realise is that he travelled everywhere with us with kit just in case, used and abused to some kind of to some extent. Had earned it in the reserves in terms of the goals he'd scored. So it wasn't just a case of bring on. There had to be that, but equally, I wasn't going to interrupt another young man's kind of time and dragging them down to the likes of wherever, as far as we go, Hastings or Bognor, and knowing that they're not going to get on, but they might fill the bench, because he he got the experience as a result of us being completely down to bare bones and not being able to fill the bench at times, and then got a chance and did okay when he came on. You say he got an assist and he held his own, didn't look out of place. But the reality was always there was a bit of interest for him from teams in that league last year. I didn't think it was right. I didn't think he was quite ready to go, and I've always thought it'd be better for him to start a new season somewhere.
Yeah.
And what Ellis's aim is this year is to see if he can, play regularly at step 5 and contribute.
Yeah, which he has definitely started.
Which he started
to do.
well. He started well, but he's still got he's still so raw and so much to do. But like I said to you earlier, if come the end of the season and he's got 30 games at step 5 at the age of 18, like Luke and Alex we're talking about, he's going to give himself a chance to maybe step up, and that might be, who knows, it might be with us, or if not for him, and his career, it might be elsewhere. But his aim is to play as high as he possibly can, and he's going and playing at a good level. You have to be, after
we just maybe came a bit soon for him at this age.
Yeah.
If we were still back in step 5, 6, he could be our top goal scorer.
And I'd have got rid of him by now, and he wouldn't be talking.
But that's not to say that he can't catch us up either. Like, I think he's made a great start. Maybe surprised. I wouldn't say surprised me, because he's been around the club so long. It's a bit too good to be true in a way, isn't it? It's like this lad who is the closest thing we're probably ever going to get to one of our own. Yes, we might have a player who's played for #United since he was 3 years old one day. That no one at his age has been able to do that. We're not old enough, but he is one of our own in so many different ways. He's been a fan of this club since it was created. He's been a part of the people's within this club's journey since before it was created. You talk about like nepotism or what have you, but it goes both ways. Like, I don't think we'd have a youth team if he didn't play for a team called Forest Glade and you hadn't put him in that team. So, we've benefited from that massively. And listen, I think it was only one other person in the whole of the senior section of the club, men and women's, that scored more goals for him last year, and that was one of the lads for the development team. So Ellis was right up there scoring goals for reserves. Any other football team with any other reserve section with a kid scoring that many goals, the kid's getting a look in the first team. So for me, nepotism is more about if someone's in a role they shouldn't be in. I think everyone relies on opportunities to get places in life, whether it's someone family member, whatever. But if you're then good at what you do, there's no nepotism as far as I'm concerned.
No, and I think this is why it's important for him to go out and go and play for something. There's none of that can't be levelled at him.
No,
and
goals are goals.
And it's not me phoning clubs saying, "Will you take him?" These clubs are, there were a couple that asked, could he go in with them? And you say, goals are goals. And he used to badger me when he was 13, 14 years old. Do you think I'll ever be good enough to play in the reserves? And I say to him, unlikely. I say, you've got to be, you've got to be a good level to play in their reserves. And we had the conversation about, what level do you think, the conversations that kids have with their dads. And you always especially when you live through the, the environment and you really don't want to. You see so many, and I've never been that pushy parent. And we've got some parents that push and others hold back, and I could probably be more accused of being the one that holds back and trying to control his expectations. And he said to me the other day, he said, obviously he was so pleased with his hat trick, and he said, I remember you saying to me, even if I don't quite make Essex Senior League and maybe play at a couple of levels below that, step 7, step 8, you've still got to be a good footballer to play at that standard. Yeah. So, I don't mind, admitting that he's surprised me, but he's worked ever so hard.
Definitely.
So, hopefully he'll go and have a successful season with White Ensign.
Yeah, we'll watch this space. We'll keep you updated if there's anything to let you know about. We always talk about it in commentary and stuff when he's scoring goals, always keeping an eye on his games. But it's just I hope that he's the first of many that we see come through our youth setup and go through the youth teams, the reserve team, and then eventually the first team.
Yeah, and we've had a couple. We had Joe Lavery this pre-season who again come through the Forest Glade youth setup. So, and I think the longer we exist,
it's only going to get better.
There's going to be more chance.
So we've implemented those.
We've got some good younger sides coming through, and we will see it. And the day it happens, it'd be amazing for us.
Yeah, it's so exciting. So, okay, so that's Ellis. Then we've got a couple of incomings for the attacking areas. Hussein Mahdi. So this is a really interesting one. He's signed. We can confirm that. You might have seen he played a bit of pre-season, but he is signed player for us. This came about, and it happened once or twice probably before this has ever really happened. I think Farai kind of came through Lewis, and we played against him, and we sort of said, look at this player. There's probably been a couple you inherited from us, and we kept for a bit. But generally, this isn't really how we recruit players. That being said, when you get a message from Chunks, you listen. So the Chunks sent me a message. He said, Spenny, we've got a player I need you to take a look at. One of his good friends. And, you know, I don't mind saying when these sort of messages come through, the main thing I'm thinking about is doing a favour for my pals and thinking like, okay, well, give them a chance. It doesn't hurt anyone to have someone down at training, does it? So usually I'll say to you, like, I've got a lad for you to look at.
Within reason, be careful.
Yeah, if you send...
yeah,
not everyone can come down. You know, you ask the obvious question, say what level have they played at, whatever. Is there a chance they could be good enough? And if there is, we have a look at them generally. You're very good at that, I'd say. You're quite open to letting people come to training and things when there's a reason. I was very pleasantly surprised by your reaction when you actually looked at him at training before I'd even seen him play, that you were like, you know, no, there's a player there, which is not usual way of scouting a player, really. Is
So I was actually, I got a text message from you as on my holiday, and I think it was quite late in the evening, and I may or may not have been sat at the bar watching the Euros, and I may or may not have had a few drinks. And when the message came through, and it's Chunks has got a player for us, so I think I was a bit like, I think I've had too many. I need to go home. I need to go to bed. Especially when his name came through as just that baller.
HM Baller.
HM Baller.
Which
Like, I need more than HM Baller. Like, I need a name, an age, a position. So I reached out to her basically saying, look, I don't even know your name. I couldn't bring myself to, you know, referencing him as HM Baller. Tell me a bit about yourself. And immediately he came back, and it was clear that, you know, this was someone who was aware of themselves.
Yeah.
In terms of, you know, what they were, you know, what their position was, and because often you get players on message and they tell you they can play every position on the pitch. And you think, well, that's kind of puts you off straight away, because
jack of all trades, master
where
of none.
Where am I going to put you?
Yeah.
But no, he spoke. You know, he's obviously played at a good level, and he spoke really maturely, and so we invited him in, and he's come in and done really well.
Yeah. My first game watching him was the Benfleet game, first game of pre-season, and I was really pleasantly surprised. And he had an injury in pre-season, which caught him out a little bit.
Unfortunately, we've not seen as much of him as we would have liked, because he's had a couple of injuries, and we're having to manage that to make sure he is right. So it's that's been frustrating. But what we have seen of Hussein is that he's got real kind of flair about his play, but he can run all day as well. Got lots and lots of energy. And he's a clever footballer, and yeah, we think he'll be a good addition to us.
Yeah, watch this space for him. And Chunks, you've got a career as an agent, mate. Yeah. You know, there's no commission on that before you ask.
Chief scout. But
yeah, there is a role at the club if you want to come and start scouting games away for us. Like, we can arrange that.
Yeah,
we'll take him on. Cool. No win, no fee. 2 players left to talk about, both being announced on social media, but really important players to talk about in terms of the pedigree they bring to the club in the attacking positions. Darren Foxley, second player we've signed from Bishop Stortford, obviously along with Jack Giddens, who we talked about in goal. This is obviously the other end of the pitch. He's won this division before, and he's a versatile attacking player. Lefty as well, which we probably lacked a bit.
So that was one of the things I kind of identified in our attacking areas, and in terms of our wide players, and it was that we were quite heavily right-footed as a side. So it was important that we, if the right player was available, we added a left footer to that, and that's where Darren kind of, again, the Stortford situation, felt that he might be available, and turns out that he was. He's someone I've kind of tracked since he was quite young. I remember him playing in a trial game when I was at East Thurrock, and him standing out, but he was probably a bit too young for us at the time, and to take those steps. It didn't take him long. He eventually did play for East Thurrock as well, and has gone and played, you know, National League football and Step 3 football his whole career. So, again, bringing good experience and good quality to us.
Yeah, versatile as well. A couple of different positions we can see him in.
We've seen him play wide, playing the 10. So again, when you talk about, that Pedro being out of play either side, Sack being out of play either side or in the 10, and you've got Toby, can play up top or can play either side, and then you look at the likes of, Mish can play deeper, or we're looking at him as a more attacking player, and we've got that flexibility in Camilo can be a 10 or a deeper line midfielder. It just helps us again, especially when we're able to use the full 16 players on a match day. It allows us to adapt in more ways than one.
Yeah, so that's Darren Foxley. He's signed. Very happy about that. Finally, a name that may not mean a great deal to you if you're not familiar with the English non-league scene or the local non-league scene. But if you are, you almost certainly know this name. It's a name that you and I know from previous times with you at East Thurrock and things like this, and seen this man play close up. But also, has always been a name that you've brought up in terms of one of the more impressive players that you've been able to have under your tutelage, if you like, and had the significant potential in his career. He is a little bit older now. He's not the back end of his career, but in his 30s. I think he's just turned 34, I think, last week. Sam Higgins, Higo, is someone that I think if we had, maybe we've been playing a higher level higher, or we had the ability to bring in players of a higher caliber, we'd have tried to get earlier, but we're very happy that we have him now.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the early videos we did where it was like asking,
we announced you as a manager.
It was I think one of the questions was who's the best player you've maybe worked with or coached, and I spoke about Sam then.
Yeah.
I think we need to be clear. If Sam was at the peak of his career, we wouldn't be getting him.
No.
Because his ability is frankly a bit of a joke.
Yeah.
But we've got to the point where we have got to a level, and because of the stage that he's at in his career, that it's been possible to bring him in. And I think we know he's not going to be out to play every minute of every game.
Yeah.
That's really important, and that's up to us to manage him within that. So there'll be times where we have to leave Sam out because his body won't be able to sustain the game to game, and he suffered with that a little bit in the last couple of seasons. But when he has been looked after and he's been able to, managers have used him well and rested him, he's scored, a lot of goals, and he's a goal scorer. But he's not just a goal scorer. His hold up play, the way he links up, and the way he brings people in, is quite exceptional. And I think we've seen glimpses of that. We've already seen that in pre-season. How he's both left and right footed and how comfortable he is, and he's someone I think the players are excited to have in the team. And there's a bit of a fear factor in the opposition when he's on the opposition's lineup, because we experienced it last year when he went to Canvey and he was sat on the bench, and I think he'd been ill, so they didn't use him. But knowing he was there and that he might come on at any time, kind of there's an element of how you're going to adjust when he comes on. So he's not going to be, he won't be tearing around the pitch for us, but so it'd be up to us to get the best, to get the best out of him and adapt to that. And we've got young, enthusiastic players that will run off of him. But yeah, it's not a signing I'm sure I thought we'd be able to make ever in time. I thought he might have been one of those players that
ships passing in the night just miss each other.
Yeah.
So. I know it's been one that we've always sort of thought about. Can we do it? And I think it's great that we're getting to do it and getting to see what he can do. I think his reputation speaks for himself. Scored a lot of goals at this level and higher. He's won levels. He's won the FA Trophy with Hornchurch. Played in those big occasions at Wembley. Has had pro deals in his younger years.
Should have played pro. Should have played
pro.
in football league.
Yeah.
He knows this. I was talking about. He's one of my biggest annoyances. I should row with him when he was younger. Because he used to annoy me that he was playing non-league football.
Yeah. Played for Millwall, I think, in his younger years.
Yeah, he was at Millwall as a youngster, but his ability and Joe's played in the Football League. Joe played with him, and Joe would tell you he's one of the best he's played with, and he's played with some very, very good football.
There's a lot we can benefit from him. I think as he's matured now as well, and he's got a bit older. There's a load of lads in the younger part of their career that can learn a lot from him, and I've already heard little murmurs around just seeing him in training and some of the things people are picking up. So really excited to have Higo with us. And that is your squad as we start the season, at least.
He's at the moment. He's today.
Yeah, he's for now. There's a fair amount of names in there, and we know we've got the 5 subs rule. We know we're missing a few from injury. You almost never have the full squad available to you. But if you were to, you're going to have a job in your hands keeping everyone happy. But that's a good problem to have, of course. What are you thinking coming into this season? Where do you feel the squad is maybe in comparison to where we were at the start of our debut season at the Isthmian Premier last year? What were your expectations?
My expectations every single year, ever since you brought me into the club, was to try and improve on the year before.
Yeah,
and I think we've always managed to do that. And then you could argue last year to the year before, but we were stepping up a league, and we managed to finish in a respectable position that could have been a little bit higher, but probably was about right where we were. I feel like we're in a better position in terms of the squad and the depth and the quality of the squad this year than we were last year. Now, there's so many variables that can happen and that can change. We've already spoken about the fact that we've got players missing already through injury, and that is a huge factor. You have to get lucky with your injuries as well. But I'm excited by what the group can be capable of, not to the point where there's going to be any kind of overconfidence, but it's quite confidence, I'd say, in what we've got.
Nice. So it's a second season at Division. We've actually never spent a third season at Division. I think that's obviously going to change at some point because we're going to level out at some point. But we want to improve. I'm with you. 13th last year. Let's see where we can go. I think we've got multiple players that have won this division that, regardless of what we say or do, they're going to be aiming for the very top because that's what they've done before and that's what they're capable of. So I think we've got exciting young players that can, do the same, and there's no reason why they can't play higher. So again, I'm with you. Anything can happen in football, but I think you've done a really good job in the pre-season. I think especially considering some of the injuries. And we make no excuses. We put a squad together that even when 4 or 5 first teamers are out, I think we've still got players that can step in and win us games.
I think that's the difference between this year and last, is that when we had that missing last year, we're close to having a similar amount. Even if you look at the game Saturday, you look at the injuries and then the guys that were away because of holiday or unavailability. Yet we were still we were in a much better position than we were, as I say, in January when we lost 4, 5 and we felt decimated.
Yes.
I feel like there's a greater depth and quality to our group.
100%. And the time for talking is done. Next time you see us, it will be our first game of the new league season, 24-25 Isthmian Prem against Cray Wanderers. Alex Teniola will almost certainly be playing in that game, our old player, and hopefully he doesn't come back to haunt us. If you want to support the club, there's lots of ways you can do it. First of all, you can buy yourself some brand new #United Home shirts. One's for your friends, one for your family. There's a new away shirt coming in a matter of weeks. We're going to be announcing that, and let me tell you, it is out there. So stay tuned for that. Obviously, you can become a member on YouTube, our beloved members. They pay a little something every month, £5. And it's one of the best £5 you could ever spend. You get live streams of the reserves. You get live streams of the women. You get live streams of the first team when we can legally do it. We're still not allowed to do Saturday 3 p.m. And have I mentioned, we've got a brand new home. Yes, that's right. Our men have moved to Aveley, the same stadium the women play at now. Both teams playing at the same place. State-of-the-art non-league ground. It really is. Spec National League level now. Our landlords, Aveley, doing a fantastic job in that front. And it feels like, no disrespect to Bowers, who we're going to play actually in a few days' time, but it feels like a move in the right direction in terms of the ambition of the club and what the ground is capable of. If you get a chance to come down, you see it for yourself. I think it was voted non-league ground of the year a year or two after it was opened back in 2017. So, really excited for the year ahead. Drop a like on the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe for more. Until next time, don't forget to hashtag it. Out the tags.